What's going on, guys? This is the Next Steps podcast, and I'm here with Ethan Broome, the middle school minister. What's up, big dog?
What's up, T?
Oh, yeah, roomie.
That's right.
Man, what'd you think of this message this past weekend, man? You think it was good?
It was good. It was good. A little bit different, the series we're in, but it was good. It was good for me to hear, at least.
Yeah. Hey, he's preaching his butt off. Old Kev
That's
went up
right.
there on the stage and rocked it out, right?
Yep.
Hope you guys got a chance to listen to this message this past week. It was in our series In God We Trust, and it was on spending. So, new thing we're doing, we got 3 questions. We're going to ask favorite part of the sermon. We're going to ask how you apply it to your life, and then we're going to try to say a next step for you guys to take based off of this sermon series in this message. So Ethan, what was your favorite part of the sermon?
My favorite part of the sermon, when he told the story about George, and how he had the $1.2 million house, the 3-car garage. That could be useful for us.
That's
3-car
nice.
garage.
Oh,
yeah.
That could be great.
All those fancy things, cool things, popular things. The American dream. He was living it right. He had all that in the best neighborhood. He might even said something like there was water in the back. So for me, the fishing, that'd be nice, right?
Yeah, use your boat. Come on.
And so that dude had it all. But yet he sold the property for $1.2 million, sold the house, and moved into a very the gospel needed neighborhood, basically, an undeserved. Underserved neighborhood, yeah. And so I think that was the coolest part, because when he ended that story, he sold the house back in 2011, but the last time he heard from him, however many years ago, I forget what he said exactly, but he said the last time he talked to the guy, he had seen 50 lives come to know Jesus, shared the gospel, and 50 people have come to know Jesus. And his ending line to end that story was, every day for him is a front row seat to see life being changed.
Wow,
and
that's
so
awesome.
For me, that was my favorite part, because that resonated with me. Was right after college, I had all these options, and I prayed and prayed and prayed, and God led me here. And since I've been here, I've had a front row seat to see life change.
Yeah,
and so
man.
that meant the most to me, man.
Heck
that was good.
Dude, I know one thing that you're making a lot of impact in is the baseball stuff too, and I think that you're seeing a bunch of lives change from that. Like all the middle schoolers Ethan coaches at Sumter High middle school baseball B team, and had 7 students sign up for camp for middle school.
About to be 8. So
let's go.
8 out of the 20 guys on the team signed up.
So hey, we applying it to the life.
That's right.
That's how we do it, big dog. Well, my favorite part, another reason why you're on here, is because you were shouted out in the sermon or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And I think Kevin said something like there was some part about spending, right? And it was $27 a day. It's some statistic. It's $27 a day. And Kevin
comes out to $10,000 a year, I think he said.
So if you save that much, then you save $10,000, right? But Kevin was like, that can't even buy Ethan's lunch, and I was like, that man eats a lot of Chipotle right there, so he's right. Yeah.
Well, $27 can buy my Chipotle, but other restaurants, I don't know. But to be fair, Kevin is right in saying lunch, but if he said dinner, that's $0 for me. One meal a day. Come on, intermittent fasting.
Hey,
it's not that bad. Kevin, he threw some shade. Hey, right, I'm preaching.
He did.
May 28th, so I'll get him back.
Come on now, that's what we gotta do. Yeah, payback right there. Hey, so second question, let's get to it. So how have you applied this message to your life?
I think the number one thing that I've done since hearing this message is I keep thinking of Luke 8:14, and it says, "And as for what fell among the thorns, they are those who hear, but as they go on their way, they are choked by the cares and riches and pleasures of life, and their fruit does not mature." What this parable was talking about in Luke is the good seed being the word. People hear the word. People accept the gospel, raise their hand, and say they're going to follow Jesus. Yeah. But yet the cares and riches and pleasures of the world choke them out. Yeah. And then they don't have any fruit. They don't mature in their walk with the Lord. And so are they truly saved? And that's what this parable is saying. There's no fruits to them, because the cares, the riches, and the pleasure of life took over them seeking the Lord. That's right. And so for this message, I know he didn't even mention that verse, but that's where my mind went, was the cares and riches and pleasures of life, because how often am I worried about spending? So I'm a self-esteem spender, as he said at the beginning of the sermon, and I want others to think highly of me. So I buy gifts for other people, stuff like that, and I always spend money. I'll buy people's lunch, stuff like that. Yeah. But I think about yeah, that's right. Buy Kevin's.
There you go.
He gonna buy mine. He owes me. He owes me one.
Yeah, that's big
But
money, man.
the riches and the pleasures of life, like, not that those are bad things. You know, not that buying a boat's a bad thing,
Right.
but it could be a bad thing if it affects how you honor God. And so that's been making me think about everything I do. And am I seeking the Lord? Am I truly honoring Him with all that I spend my money on? And so that has been I've been dwelling on that so much. It's just like the riches and pleasures of life. And the cares, is it taken away from my relationship with the Lord? Is my spending doing that?
Yeah.
And if it is, then something's got to change.
Yeah, for real. Mine was kind of a similar impact on like applying this to my life too, because like the questions that he asked about like kind of your next steps or whatever, 3 questions that can help determine your next step. The third question was, how can your spending like impact eternity? And that kind of relates to yours, because if you're not thinking of that question, and instead you're thinking of like, how can this help me and benefit me? Can I just buy like the newest Ram truck?
Yeah, there you go.
Or something like that. Or if I want to buy like the newest CrossFit equipment or something like that, then like I might not be, spending the money the way that God wants me to spend it.
Right.
And that really, I think I need to take a next step in that part and start, giving more and doing things like that. And it could impact eternity versus just impacting, how I'm doing day to day, I guess.
That was a good question, too.
Yeah, for real.
That's a good question.
Yeah, boy. Well, last question is, what are some next steps that you think people should be taking from this message?
I think the reason I started thinking of Luke 18 and how it impacted me in my walk with the Lord all came from the first question. I believe it was the first one, and it was, what does your spending say about you? Was that the first one?
Yep.
What does your spending say about you? To me, that was the main question that I just remembered. What does your spending say about you? If you can go to anybody and ask that, you can go to my best friend who doesn't go to this church and say, hey, what does Ethan's spending say about him?
Yeah.
And he's going to have an answer, you know. And so I think that made me think, hey, do people see the cares, the pleasures, and the riches? My mind's on that over my relationship with the Lord.
Right.
And what does that say about me? And I think those go into the other 2 questions. So the last question, does it impact eternity?
Yeah.
If your spending says that it doesn't, then...
yeah, then that's a problem,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. And so that question, I think everybody can take something from that question. What does your spending say about you?
Right.
Easy question to ask yourself. Easy question to take and say, hey, I have a next step. I do have a next step. Because it's not just, all your spending as a whole. It could be one little portion of it that you're spending not the right way, and not in a God-honoring way. And so how can you spend your money to honor the Lord and glorify Him? And it's a question that I've honestly never thought about, because I've never heard a series like this before.
Right.
And so it's a question that I think most of the church has probably never heard before, and that they could apply to their life for a next step.
That's awesome, man. Dude, well, guys, this is why we do the podcast, is to help you guys take your next steps. Thanks, Ethan, for showing up. Appreciate you, big dog.
Next step conversations, man.
We can take some next step conversations, take them to the next level. These online peeps over here. Appreciate you guys for watching.
Yep.
And God bless y'all. Hope you guys continue watching this message and get something out of it.
That's right.
Leave a comment if you liked it or either didn't like it, and say something about Ethan in there.
Yeah.
All right, y'all.
See ya.
See y'all.